Hey folks, welcome to the channel. I am your host Chris, and you have found Finance and Freedom. If you found this on a YouTube algorithm recommendation, I certainly welcome that, and I hope that you will share this information with other of your friends and perhaps family members that are looking for information on freedom from finances and the planning that it takes. While I am not a certified financial planner or of any type whatsoever, and the information in the video is just for entertainment purposes, shall we say, I welcome you just the same. If you are not new here, welcome back. And I hope that whether you are new or not, that you will consider subscribing to the channel, liking some of the videos, and certainly going back and reviewing some of the videos that are already on the channel. Today's subject today is going to be so exciting. I'm just jumping for joy here if you can't see it. It's on pensions. Pensions, yeah. In some quarters that might be a four-letter word. Particularly if you are at a corporate headquarters looking to downsize, right size, fire people just in general. However, for you and I, pensions is not a four-letter word. It's actually a word that we need to expand upon, do some research, and consider very heavily for our futures. And interestingly, not a lot of people have pensions. Excuse me. As a matter of fact, in some data that I was looking at recently, about 73%, I believe, of American workers have access to pensions. But only about 56% of those people are actually involved and participate in the pension plans that they are offered. Now, that's not to say that every pension plan is a good one. However, it is better than nothing. So if you don't have a pension, maybe you can ask your employer, if you're not the boss yourself, about the pension plan that the company has. That being said, a lot of people choose not to invest in the pension plans that their company has for various reasons. Every person has a different reason to invest or not to invest, okay? So, one of the things that you need to consider is, if you do not have a pension plan at your company, how are you investing and saving for your retirement? It could be an IRA, a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, if you want to call IRAs that have been around forever, it seems like. There are multitudes of different types of retirement plans or pension plans, and depending on the company, they may have certain types based on the type of industry that the company works in. And certainly it depends on the company whether or not they will match what you put in. And likewise, at what level. So, excuse me. Some companies will match up to a certain percent, let's say 5% towards or of whatever you put in. They may match. That being said, they are going to have various, shall we say, fine print on how they do that. They may only do it up to a certain percent if you have been part of the company for a particular number of years. So some companies may say, well, once you've been with the company for 5 years, we will match 5% of whatever you put into your pension plan. Others may say you have to have been with the company only 1 year. But if you don't ask the questions of your personnel department or your HR department, what the requirements are for that, then you're not going to know, right? Now, all that being said, if you are your own boss, you're self-employed, or you have a small business where perhaps you have a handful of people that work for you and with you in the company, you probably have already got something set up. The rules on that will vary depending upon the type of industry, the type of plan that you've got set up, or if you're looking to set one up. There are obviously stipulations on how you set it up and who is covered, right? So if you're looking at doing that for your employees, just do it the right way, okay? Which means get certified help from financial planners, from companies or lawyers that deal specifically with that type of arrangement, because you want to do it the right way. If you're a business owner, you do not want to get on the bad side of the IRS, okay? And pension plans, retirement plans, things of that nature, if you're a business owner, that is a really easy way to get on the bad side of the IRS, as I say. Okay, so, but now, if you're an employee and you work for a large company or small or medium company, whatever the size may be or the type of industry that it may be involved in, and you do not participate in a pension plan, I really recommend that you find out, do they have one, first off, and what are the requirements to participate. Going back to those statistics I mentioned in the beginning of the video, 73% of all employees in the United States have access to some type of pension plan. Now, that means not just full-time employees, but it also means part-time employees. If you wanted to call them casual or seasonal employees, they may be afforded the benefit of a pension at some level. But of the 73% of all U.S. workers that have access to a pension plan, only 56% or so participate. Now that's full-time employees, part-time employees, employees that work for governments, federal government, local, state governments. They're more apt to have access to a pension plan. Not all those people participate, right? If barely 1 in 2 of all U.S. workers participate in a pension or retirement type of plan, there's a whole lot of money being left on the table out there, right? Now, that being said, again, there are various requirements and stipulations before a company will begin matching any amount of money that you put into your pension or retirement plan. That being said, find out what those requirements are, and that, folks, that's free money. I mean, if your employer says, if you've been with the company a year and you put into the pension plan and we will match the first 5% of what you put in, depending on what that is, that could be a lot of money. In the first year, maybe not. In the second or fifth year, it's going to amount to a lot more money because of the accumulation of interest and capital gains and things of that nature within that fund. Okay. So it's important to find out what's available. Okay, you don't necessarily want to try to do everything on your own. A financial planner can be of benefit to you, but if you're going to look at going in that route, whether it's a financial planner through your company or your corporation, or whether you're going to hire one yourself to help you, make sure that you know what the fees are that they're going to charge you. Okay, typically speaking, folks that are looking to hire their own financial planner or a company, you want to consider having someone that is knowledgeable, experienced, and that they charge a flat fee. Okay, not a percentage of your investments, not a sliding scale type of fee rate that they may charge. While that would be nice if they were going to outperform somebody that you were charged a flat fee by, statistics show that that's not necessarily true. That just because someone is charged a flat fee does not mean that you're not going to get good advice, nor does it mean that you're going to do much, much better by paying somebody a percentage, let's say 1% of all the assets that you have invested. Okay, if you were doing that for a long time, a long period of time, and it had worked out that you had done well, if they were charging you 1% of your total assets under investment with them, that could be a pretty substantial amount of money that you owe to them each and every year. Now, in that regards, whether you did well or you did poorly in a particular year, you would still potentially owe them a lot of money based on the amount of money that they had invested for you and managed for you. Now, a lot of people may find a similar type of ability to have less expensive management fees, shall we say, by engaging some of the financial planning tools that are available through mutual fund companies such as Vanguard or Schwab. They do provide those types of services. I don't know right now at the time that you're watching this video what those requirements may be. Obviously, it's going to vary from company to company and for time period to time period or year to year. Okay, so if that's something of interest to you, I would definitely recommend that you look into that, find out a little bit more about what those requirements are. So I'm not even going to throw out figures and say if you got $1 million, you're going to be able to do that. I don't know what that might be. I don't know what that might be at the time that you're watching this video once again. So you'll have to do some due diligence on your own and some research into that on your own. All of that being said, pensions are important. Not everybody has access to them. Those that do, it seems that the majority of people, I won't say the majority of people, a large contingent of the people that have access to them do not take advantage of them for whatever reason. Maybe you just don't even know that it's there. Maybe the company that you work for, the requirements in order to participate are fairly arduous. They're fairly hard to become involved in and participate in putting money into their funds. I know of folks that work for tax companies such as H&R Block Even what they consider part-time, yearly, or seasonal tax preparers are able to put money into a pension or retirement plan. And from the information that I have seen from folks that work there for H&R Block specifically, they have some pretty good funds. If you're careful on which one you choose, you can put money in, and once you meet their requirements for matching, they're happy as a company to match those funds up to a certain percentage. Again, are you going to get rich off the match? No, you're not going to get rich on the match. But if you're not getting to the point where they will match for you, you're leaving money on the table. Okay? No one likes to walk away from a table and leave hundreds of dollars of bills laying on the table, right? So I guess my real point is for the video is pensions are important. In some countries, let's say Social Security or the equivalent of Social Security that we have in the United States is considered a pension. Even in the United States, it's considered a pension. But if you're only living on Social Security in the United States, depending on where you live, you are not living the high life. You are probably paying the majority of your bills and getting by. And that's only if you have a low cost to rent the place that you're living in. You're not extravagant when it comes to spending or going out to eat, movies, things of that nature. As you're well aware, things just in general are not cheap. They're expensive these days. If you are not good at planning, get help planning for your future, for your pension, for your retirement. If you're watching this and you're 25 years old and you're going, I'll never have a pension, I don't have a job for a pension, think about the companies that have pensions. Think about where you can work that have pensions. A lot of people work really well-paying jobs for the federal government, for state government, for the local government. There's even companies that have pension plans that if you do the research and find out what those companies are, you could certainly submit an application to get a job with them. Work in an area where you have a passion for. And as the old saying is, if you enjoy your work, it's not work, and you'll never work a day in your life if you work doing something you enjoy, right? So find out what those companies are. Find out what the requirements would be in order to invest and participate in their pension plans. And, more people these days probably don't work in positions that have pensions for one reason or another. There are a lot of workers that they job jump. I mean, for lack of a better term, they'll work somewhere for a year and then they'll change jobs and they'll go to a totally different company, a different job, and they'll be there 1 or 2 years and they'll get bored and tired and they'll move on. If at some point you're in one of those positions and it has a pension, invest in it, participate in it, if at all possible. Because if you're going to job jump in 2 years and go somewhere else, you can take it with you, right? You can roll it into a regular IRA, a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. There are steps and ways to do that are most advantageous to you. You have to do a little research on that. And again, not financial advice. I don't know the proper steps to do that, with one exception. That is, never take the money from a rollover personally. And by that I mean, don't don't quit your job, and when you quit your job, say, yeah, I've got $5,000 in my pension plan with you guys. Just send me the check and I'll put it into the next one myself. Don't do that, because you're going to pay taxes, large taxes, to the IRS for interest and capital gains on that money, whatever that money is, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000. If you take the money in the form of, let's say, a check from them to you, and then you plan on putting that into another mutual fund via an IRA or a Roth IRA or something like that, you're going to pay big taxes on that. Just don't do it. It's just all around, it's a bad idea. Set up something before you leave that job, and then have your new retirement fund, if it were a mutual fund, for instance, not through a new company, but just in general, just through Schwab or Vanguard or whatever, have them draw that money into your new retirement fund from your current outgoing company on your behalf. By doing that, you're not going to pay taxes on that, okay? There may be some exceptions, but you're certainly not going to be forced to pay taxes on it in the same regard as you would if you just said, yeah, send me that check and I'll just take care of it later. Again, you're going to pay taxes that way. But if you have the new mutual fund or whatever it is, get that for you and transfer it into that, you are not going to pay nearly as much taxes as you would otherwise, okay? So, bottom line is, if you have the ability to do a pension plan, do it, if at all possible. Obviously, personal situations are going to dictate. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck now, then you're probably not a good candidate at the present time to participate in that pension plan, okay? Now, that's not to say that you won't be in the future. That's not to say that you couldn't redo or realign some of your bills, perhaps pay down some of your credit cards, things like that, where you could be in a position where you could invest and participate in that pension plan, okay? Again, and I've said this in previous videos, nobody cares about your financial wellness more than you do. Well, maybe your spouse, okay, because he or she is got some skin in the game, right? If you fail, they fail, simply because you're part of the same family. Other than that, no one cares. No one's going to pick you up out of the dirt at the end of the day when you've fallen and you don't have any money to pay your bills. No one's going to pick you up and help you, okay? You have to take a personal interest in your future. You have to. You have to be the one that is going to think this out, write it down on a piece of paper with a pencil of some type or on your computer, do the research, get people involved that are the experts, the subject matter experts when it comes to planning for financial wellness, when it comes to planning for retirement. And it doesn't matter if you're 20, 25, or 75. It's never too late to start. By not starting ever, you've just killed any likelihood that you will have a good retirement, okay? At best, in that situation, you're going to have a mediocre retirement. And that's because you're planning to live on Social Security alone. And you just aren't going to be able to do well on Social Security alone. Unless you have got some savings, some investments, unless you have some type of a retirement plan, then you have planned to fail, okay? So you can plan to excel or you can plan to fail. And if you don't plan, you have, for all intents and purposes, you have planned to fail. Don't plan to fail. It doesn't matter if you have family that's dependent upon you, or if you're just a single person and you're just doing your own thing. Don't plan to fail. We all want to have the best for ourselves, and we all always want those around us, whether they're very well connected to us or just acquaintances. We want everyone to be able to have a good life, to be able to provide for themselves and for family members. We want them to do as well as they possibly can, in retirement particularly, because once you get of a certain age, unless you own your own company, companies do not want to hire you, okay? Because the medical expenses that they may have to pay on your behalf through their insurance, they don't want to do that. You're not going to be as likely to do well as a much younger person in the same job, regardless of whether you have the same educational background or not. Okay, all things being said, they want a young person, right, that has the education that you have, right, and they don't want to pay them much. So they're not necessarily going to want to hire you unless you bring something just stupendous to the table when it comes to experience level, things of that nature. They don't even necessarily, and they being the corporations, right? They don't necessarily want to hire an older person, even if you bring a lot to the table, experience-wise, education-wise, ability-wise, because they don't want to pay you. They don't want to pay you the dollars that would be commensurate with that level of education and experience, okay? They're much more apt to want to hire a 20 or 30-something that they can pay a lot less money to, that they can train to do the job the way they want it done, okay? They don't want you necessarily to think hard about it. They just want you to do it the way they want it done, period. And then they're going to move on, okay? So I know this has been a little bit of a ramble, but again, the bottom line is if you're able to have a pension with the company that you're with, go check it out. If you're not already participating in it, go check it out. If you're already participating in it, is there a way in which you could increase the amount of money that you put into it? Or does it even make sense to? Again, that comes back to having a good discussion with a financial planner or someone that has the expertise to talk with you about that. You may discover that it really makes the most sense in your situation to put in enough money for your company, if they match, to match it at the max, and then put the rest of that money into some other type of retirement or pension plan, like an IRA or a 401k or something along those lines, okay? If you are a self-employed person, there are a number of ways in which you can plan for your own retirement. IRAs of various types, traditional or Roth, 401ks, solo IRAs. Pardon me. There are a number of ways that you can plan for and ways to implement those plans so that at some point in the future you will be able to be, well, just say well off, okay? You're not going to have to worry about whether or not you can pay your bills or buy food or pay your mortgage or your rent at your apartment or townhome or whatever the case may be. So pensions, a very boring subject, but a very important subject, and a subject that each one of us needs to look at. And again, it doesn't matter if you're 25 or 75. It's never too late to start unless you're on your deathbed, in which case it probably doesn't really make a difference then, right? But if you have any number of years ahead of you, it's important that you look at the ways in which you can provide for yourself, your family members. Maybe you want to leave a gift to your kids or grandkids or great-grandkids or whatever the case may be, or a charity that you are very passionate about, okay? There are ways to do all those things, but you have to check into it. It's not going to come up and slap you in the face and, just say, here I am. You have to go out and you have to look for it, okay? So anyway, that's all for today's episode. I hope that something I've said has struck a chord with you, that is interesting enough that you will take a look at it. If you take a look at it and you decide, yeah, it's just not for me, then that's your choice, okay? Absolutely your choice. But there are so few people that have access to pensions and retirement plans through their companies these days that it's very important that you look at the options that you have available to you. Oh, and one last tidbit. If you have kids and you have invested in a 529 college plan or college education plan through a mutual fund company, go and look at that, because there are rules within the IRS tax book, if you want to call it that if you have money in that 529 plan and you just don't use it, I mean, you can pass it on to another child or a grandchild or anybody that you want to give it to, frankly. But if you've got it in, say, your kid's name, and you have that fund open for as long as 15 years, and there is still money in it that has not been used, there are methods that the IRS will allow you to roll that money into a retirement plan. I think it is, at the time of making this video, you can have up to, I think it's $35,000 that can be rolled over at some point in the future as a single transaction, year to year, into your child's name, or into your child's retirement plan. So, I mean, if you've got $15,000 in there and it sits there for 15 years and it's never used, your child can have that put into their own retirement plan, and as long as it follows whatever the rules are at that current time, that's like found money, found retirement money. That's like a built-in pension in that 529 plan, and probably 9 out of 10 people don't even know that that's a possibility. Again, check with your financial planner, or if you've got a 529 plan through a mutual fund company, call them and ask them if they know about that and what the requirements are. So anyway, little known fact. I hope something I've said today in this video has been helpful to you or will be helpful to you in the future. I hope that you'll consider subscribing, liking this video, and come back for the next one. And have a great rest of the day, the morning, the evening, whenever it is that you're watching this video. So, in the meantime, adios and have a good one. Bye.